This is the Camlink Pro. It's Elgato's latest capture card, and this thing is insane. It's a tiny little device that allows you to connect not one, but 4 cameras to your computer and record all of them separately in 4K. If you guys have seen my stream before, you would have seen my multi-camera setup. I just like having multiple different camera angles for my stream. It just keeps it fun and engaging for my viewers. The problem is, in my current setup, I have to have a separate capture card for every single camera, and some of them are USB, some of them are PCIe, and it's really confusing and it causes a whole host of problems. So I'm hoping I can just connect all my cameras to this thing and everything will be managed through one device. So let's get this thing unboxed. I'll show you everything you can do, and trust me, there are some features on this capture card that have never been done on any other capture card before. Before we unbox the Camlink Pro, let's do a quick shout out to this week's sponsor, SCD Keys. Now, for those of you out there who are building brand new PCs, maybe to put your Camlink Pro in, you probably want Windows 10. The problem is, you probably can't afford it anymore because you just blew all your money on this guy. That's where SCD Keys comes in, because SCD Keys sells Windows 10 keys for as low as $20. On top of that, if you use my code NUTTY at checkout, you'll get an additional 20% off at checkout. And by the way, they don't just sell Windows 10 keys, they even sell keys for games on Steam and Origin if you guys are looking to play some new games on your stream. Just make sure to use one of their secure payment methods, and then after you've completed your purchase, you just go into your Windows settings, go into change my product key, and then enter in the key that you bought from SCD Keys. Alright, so let's open up the box and see what you get inside. I already opened it. You get a capture card inside. I don't know what you guys were expecting. So the Camlink Pro is an internal capture card, which means you need to install it inside your PC. This is not a USB capture card. You need to actually open up your PC and slot it inside. Now, it also requires 4 PCIe lanes, which we'll talk a little bit more about later in the video. And on the back is where you'll see the 4 HDMI inputs, which is where you connect all of your cameras. Every single one of these inputs can take up to a 4K 30 camera or 1080p 60. Now, I haven't actually plugged this in yet, so let's do that right now. We'll use it for a little bit, and then I'll come back in a couple days and talk a little bit more about my findings. Alright, so it's been about a week now. I've had a handful of streams using Camlink Pro. I'm actually using it to record this video right now. So let's talk about a few of the things that really stood out to me. Number one, it was extremely straightforward to set up. I literally just turned my computer on and all the inputs for the Camlink Pro were immediately available. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what it looks like with all 4 cameras set up in OBS. And no, I'm not wearing any pants, okay? What am I, the queen? Now, every single one of these cameras is a separate video capture device. So these are all separate sources that you can move around and lay out however you want in OBS. If you want to move it around, if you want to resize them, if you want to crop them in, you can do whatever you want. However, there's something very special about the first input. Let me show you. If we come down here and add a new video capture device, and under the device dropdown, you'll see all 4 inputs for the Camlink Pro 1, 2, 3, 4, but you'll notice that the first input is labeled Multiview. Now, the Multiview feature is a feature that I've only ever seen on the Camlink Pro, and what it essentially allows you to do is switch between all your different cameras, but not only that, you can also switch to a split screen mode, to a triple camera mode, or to a quad camera mode, and you can pick and choose which cameras appear in which viewport. But the kicker is, all the different views are appearing as a single video capture source, so if you're using your Camlink Pro inside of like Discord or Zoom, you're gonna have access to all of these different multi-views. So I think this would work really well for like a podcast setup or like a tabletop setup where you'll have different cameras and you'll want to switch dynamically to different camera angles to show different guests, or maybe a top-down view of whatever it is that you're playing. But how do you control the multi-view? There's a couple different ways. The first way is by downloading the 4K capture utility, and if you download that, go into the cog, you'll see a drop down where you can select your different inputs. You want to select your multi-view input. If you select that, you'll see some options to select your multi-view layout, and you can pick whatever you want. You can pick side by side, and then you can pick which inputs go into which viewport. So if I want to make the left-hand side, if I want to make it my top-down camera, and then I want to make the right side like my pans camera, you can do that. Everything that you see here is going to reflect exactly what you see inside of Discord or Zoom or anywhere where you're using this multi-view input. The second way is much cooler. If you happen to have a Stream Deck, you can go into your Stream Deck app and then go into your Stream Deck store. I don't know why they made it a store now, but you go to Stream Deck store, you can search your plugins and just search for Camlink Pro and install this plugin. If you do that, you'll have access to a new option that says Set Multiview Mode, and you can just drag that onto a button onto your Stream Deck. I've already set up a few buttons just as an example, but you can see here I've got 4 different buttons for 4 different inputs, so I can switch between each different camera. But then I also have some split screen options and a triple cam option and a quad cam option. And what's really cool is inside of the Stream Deck app, you can see a little preview of what's going on for each camera. Unfortunately, you don't actually get to see this on the Stream Deck. That would be super cool, but I guess there's like bandwidth limitations and they can't push the video over USB. So I get it, but it would just be really cool if you could actually see what's going on your Stream Deck. So that's the whole multi-view feature. Let's talk about another feature which you don't really see in a lot of different capture cards or basically any webcam. And that's the ability to use the Camlink Pro in multiple programs at the same time. Now let me tell you why that's such a cool thing. For most webcams, if you were to add your webcam as a source into OBS and then try to use that webcam inside of another application like Discord or Zoom, you'll notice that it actually doesn't work. That's because basically every webcam and most capture cards, which includes the Camlink 4K by the way, they use UVC drivers which make them ultra compatible, so you can pretty much just plug them into every system and it's gonna work. However, there's a limitation that they can only be used in one program at a time. To give you an idea of why this is important, I use a program called SnapCam, which allows me to use any Snapchat lens to apply really crazy and insane effects to my camera. Now here's the problem. SnapCam needs access to my camera, but if I'm already using my camera inside of OBS, well then I'm gonna have to remove it from OBS and then add it to SnapCam. Now that wouldn't be that big of an issue, but SnapCam only supports 1080p 30, so if I have a 1080p 60 camera, I'm gonna be losing half of my frame rate. That means if I was using a normal webcam, I'm gonna have to choose between having a really high quality smooth camera or having really fun filters that my viewers can play around with. You can't have the best of both worlds. With the Camlink Pro, you don't have to choose. You can do both if you wanted to. Now, another really cool use case for this is to use NVIDIA Broadcast. If you guys don't know NVIDIA Broadcast, it basically allows you to green screen your camera without a green screen. Just like SnapCam, this also requires access to your camera. So again, if you were using a regular webcam, you have to choose between having a green screen background or not having a green screen background. You can't do both. But because the Camlink Pro doesn't function like a normal webcam, I do have access to both. So what I can do is I can stack my green screen camera on top of my regular camera, and now that just opens up doors to so many different possibilities for different crazy effects you can do. I did a video a while back explaining this concept, but basically the idea is that I can have sources pass behind me because my body is an entirely separate layer. Or I can apply some effects and filters that only affect my body and don't touch the background or anything that's going on in the room behind me. In fact, one of the guys in our community, Desynchro, already did that idea where he applied a rainbow shader that affects just his body, so his body's flashing, kind of like when you grab a star in Mario, but his background is just his regular background. It's a really, really cool effect. So did that make sense to you guys? I feel like I just rambled on for like 3 minutes and nobody had any idea what I was talking about. So like, do you guys just want to see like the no pants cam again? Will this entertain you? Type Omega Lol in the comments if this entertains you. All right, so should you buy the Camlink Pro? Let's be real, you already watched Harris's video, you watched Epos Fox's video, you've already made up your mind. You know whether you want this or not, now you just want validation. Well, I'm gonna give it to you because yes, the Camlink Pro is a great device, but hold on, I'm sure some of you guys are gonna be like, Elgato probably just sent this to you for free and now you're shilling for Elgato. Well, yes, they did send this to me for free, so let me just give you this. The Camlink Pro, $360. That sounds like a lot of money, but let's compare it to some of its competition. You've got the Madwell Pro Capture Quad. This thing is $900. And it doesn't even capture 4K 30, it only captures up to 1080p 60. What about the Decklink Quad? $545. Now granted, this one captures 4 4K 60 inputs and not just 4K 30, However, you're not going to get any of that Stream Deck integration, plus it uses 8 PCIe lanes, which you may not have room for in your system. The only other device that I can see being maybe a good alternative would be the Blackmagic A10 Mini, which is $300. Now this one is an external HDMI switcher, which allows you to connect 4 1080p 60 cameras to your PC. The problem is, all your cameras are all fed into a single video capture device on your PC. So if you wanted to show all 4 different cameras at the same time, you're not able to do that. So overall, I think the Camlink Pro is a pretty good value. I don't think you can accuse Elgato of overpricing this one. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. You don't have to connect cameras to the Camlink Pro. If you wanted to use one or all the inputs for like a console, you can do that. You just have to be aware that, number one, there's no pass-through on this thing, so if you want to output your console to OBS as well as a TV, you're not going to be able to do that unless you buy an external HDMI splitter. Also, none of the inputs support high refresh rates, so if you want to game at 120 Hz or 144 Hz, yeah, it's not going to work with this. And just a last note, I did notice, at least with my unit, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I noticed that when I plug in 4 1080p 60 cameras and populate all 4 slots, it seems to make all the cameras start stuttering and cutting in and cutting out, and I couldn't figure out why. Once I switched one of the cameras to 1080p 30, then it worked just fine, but that could just be a me issue, so I don't know what the issue was. Once I figure out what it was, I'll update the description or leave a comment down below explaining what it is, because I'm sure it's just a me problem, but yeah, just thought you guys should know that. Anyway, that's been it. Make sure to join the Discord if you guys want help with anything, or, well, not anything, as long as it's related to streaming. Or I don't know, maybe ask anything. Ask us what kind of sandwich you want to eat for lunch. Also, make sure to catch me on Twitch. I stream 3 nights a week. I'm probably streaming there right now, so come by, ask me questions, and I'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the pantsless cam, okay? Catch you guys next time.